It was supposed to be just another phone call, the kind you make without thinking twice. Quick, routine, nothing out of the ordinary. But this one would become something people still talk about years later, because just minutes after that call, everything changed. The highway was loud, cars flying past, engines roaring, life moving fast like it always does. But in the middle of all that noise, something went terribly wrong. And when the news broke, fans were left stunned, confused, and searching for answers. What was said during that last call? Who was on the other end? And more importantly, did that conversation have anything to do with what happened next? Social media didn't waste a second. Within hours, timelines were flooded, clips resurfaced, old interviews started circulating. People began connecting dots, drawing conclusions and asking questions that still don't have clear answers. Some people think that call held a warning. Others believe it was just a coincidence. Wrong place, wrong time. But one thing is certain, the mystery around that final conversation has only grown stronger with time. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and to this day, people are still debating what really happened in those final moments. Because sometimes, it's not just what we know, it's what we don't know that keeps the story alive. This is the story of the last call MO3 made before everything changed. And trust me, this one goes deeper than you think. The story of MO3 is one that still hits hard every time it's brought up, and even now, fans are still trying to piece together the final moments before everything changed forever. And that last phone call, the one people keep talking about, it's become almost like a mystery wrapped in emotion, pain, and unanswered questions. Because when news first broke about what happened that day, it didn't just feel like another headline, it felt personal. Fans were shocked, emotions ran high, and social media instantly exploded with theories, reactions, and confusion. And right in the middle of all that chaos was one haunting question. Who did MO3 speak to right before everything went down, and what was said? People close to the situation haven't publicly confirmed many details, but that hasn't stopped the internet from doing what it does best. Some people think that the last call might have been more important than anyone realized at the time. Others say it could have been just a normal conversation, something routine, something that didn't seem unusual until after the tragedy. But when you listen to fans break it down, you can feel how deep the speculation goes. There had to be something off, one fan wrote. You don't just end up in a situation like that out of nowhere. Still, nothing is confirmed, and that uncertainty is what keeps this story alive. To understand why that last call matters so much, you have to look at where MO3 was in his life at that moment. He wasn't just another rapper trying to make it. He had already built a name, a loyal fan base, and a reputation for being real in a way that people respected. His music carried pain, truth, and raw storytelling that connected deeply with listeners. He talked about struggle, survival, and the streets, but he also showed glimpses of growth and reflection. That's what made his story feel bigger than music. Fans felt like they knew him, like they were watching someone evolve in real time. But with that kind of visibility comes pressure, and sometimes danger. The rap world isn't just about music, it's also about reputation, alliances, and conflicts that can spill over into real life. Social media is saying that MO3 had ongoing tensions with certain individuals, though it's important to note that much of that remains speculation. Some fans believe those tensions could have played a role in what happened, while others argue that jumping to conclusions only adds more confusion to an already tragic situation. Either way, people are divided, and the lack of clear answers only fuels the conversation. What makes this even more intense is how quickly everything unfolded. One moment, MO3 was alive, moving, talking, living his life, and the next, everything changed in a way no one could have predicted. That sudden shift is what makes people go back and focus on the smallest details. The last call becomes more than just a call. It becomes a clue, a moment frozen in time that might hold answers, or might just raise even more questions. Some people online have tried to connect dots, suggesting that whoever was on the other end of that call might know more than they've said publicly. Again, these are just theories, and nothing has been confirmed. But when emotions are high and people are searching for meaning, even the smallest detail can take on a life of its own. What if that call was the warning? Someone posted. What if he knew something was about to happen? It's that kind of thinking that keeps the story circulating, growing, on and evolving with every new discussion. At the same time, there are those who push back against all the speculation. They remind others that behind the headlines and theories is a real person who lost his life, and a family that continues to deal with that loss every single day. They argue that turning every moment into a mystery can sometimes take away from the reality of what happened. And they're not wrong, because while fans are searching for answers, there's also a need to respect the fact that not everything is meant to be turned into a storyline. Still, the curiosity doesn't fade. If anything, it grows stronger with time, because in situations like this, people naturally want closure. They want to understand the why, even when the truth isn't fully available. And that's where the story sits right now, somewhere between fact and speculation, between reality and rumor. The last call MO3 made continues to linger in conversations, not because people want drama, but because they want clarity. And until more information comes out, if it ever does, that moment will remain one of the most talked about pieces of a story that still feels unfinished. As the hours turned into days, the situation didn't calm down, it intensified. The conversation around MO3 only grew louder, and social media is going crazy with theories that seem to multiply by the minute. What started as shock quickly turned into investigation mode for fans. People began digging through old posts, revisiting interviews, and even analyzing past lyrics, trying to find anything that might connect back to those final moments. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It felt like people were searching for answers that no one was clearly giving. The last phone call became the center of it all. Some people think that whoever was on the other end might hold a key piece of the puzzle. Others believe the call itself is being overanalyzed, that it was simply bad timing in a tragic situation. But when emotions are high, logic often takes a back seat. Fans are shocked, and when people are shocked, they start asking deeper questions. Why that moment? Why right after the call? Was it just coincidence? Those questions echoed across timelines, comment sections, and reaction videos. Unconfirmed reports suggest that MO3 may have been going about his normal routine before everything happened. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that immediately raised alarms. That's what makes the situation feel even heavier, because if everything seemed normal, then what changed so suddenly? Some fans believe the call could have shifted something, even if just slightly. Maybe it altered his plans, maybe it delayed him, or maybe it had no impact at all. The truth is, nothing is confirmed, but the possibilities keep people talking. At the same time, online discussions started to split into different directions. One side focused heavily on theories, trying to connect the situation to past tensions and rumored conflicts. Social media is saying that there had been issues in the background, though it's important to remember that much of this is based on speculation and interpretation rather than verified facts. Still, people began revisiting old disagreements, trying to draw a straight line from the past to that final moment. On the other side, there were fans urging caution. They pushed back against the wave of assumptions, reminding everyone that not every tragedy comes with a hidden storyline. Sometimes things just happen, one user wrote. We don't always get answers. That perspective brought a different kind of tension to the conversation, because now it wasn't just about what happened, it was about how people should react to it. Meanwhile, reaction videos and commentary channels added even more fuel to the fire. Everyone had a take. Some broke down timelines, others focused on emotional reactions, and a few leaned into the mystery, presenting different angles while carefully reminding viewers that nothing is confirmed. The phrase kept repeating across platforms. We don't know for sure. But even with that disclaimer, the speculation didn't slow down. One detail that kept resurfacing was the idea that timing like this rarely goes unnoticed. Fans pointed out how close the call was to the moment everything unfolded, and that closeness made it hard for people to ignore. That's not random, some said. It means something. Others disagreed, saying that in a fast-moving situation, moments can overlap without being connected. And that's where the divide became even more clear. Emotions ran high, not just because of the loss, but because of the uncertainty. People want clarity, especially in situations that feel sudden and unresolved. Without official answers, the internet fills in the gaps, sometimes with logic, sometimes with imagination. And in this case, the last call became one of those gaps. silence, one of those moments that people couldn't stop replaying in their minds. There were also whispers online suggesting that more information might exist but hasn't been made public. Some people think that details about the call are known by certain individuals but haven't been shared. Others believe that if there was anything significant, it would have already come out. Again, nothing is confirmed, but the idea alone was enough to keep the conversation alive. As the days passed, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about a single moment anymore. It had turned into a larger discussion about everything surrounding it, the environment, the pressures, and the reality of the situation. But no matter how far the conversation stretched, it always came back to that one detail, that final call. Yeah, because in a story filled with emotion, loss, and unanswered questions, that moment stands out the most. Not because we know what happened during it, but because we don't. And sometimes, not knowing is what makes everything feel even more intense. As time moved forward, the conversation around MO3 didn't fade. It got deeper, heavier, and more emotional. What started as shock had now turned into something more complex. People weren't just reacting anymore. They were trying to understand every angle, every detail, and every possible explanation. And through all of that, one thing kept resurfacing over and over again. The last phone call. It had become more than just a moment. It felt like a missing piece in a story that nobody could fully explain. Fans are shocked, but now there's also frustration mixed in. Oh no, the kind of frustration that comes from not having clear answers. Social media is still going crazy, but the tone has shifted. Earlier it was fast reactions and immediate theories. Now it's deeper conversations, longer breakdowns, and more emotional takes. People are revisiting everything again, but this time with a different mindset. Not just what happened, but why does this feel so significant? Some people believe that the call might have been completely normal, something that only seems important because of what happened afterward. That idea makes sense to a lot of people who think the situation is being overanalyzed. But then there's another group that sees it differently. They feel like timing like that can't just be ignored. They believe there's a reason people keep coming back to that moment, even without confirmed details. Unconfirmed reports suggest that MO3 didn't appear alarmed before everything unfolded, at least not publicly. That's something that adds another layer to the mystery. If nothing seemed wrong on the surface, then what changed so quickly? Some fans think the answer might be hidden in things we don't have access to, private conversations, unseen moments, or details that were never shared publicly. Others argue that trying to fill in those gaps can sometimes lead to assumptions that aren't grounded in facts. Still, the speculation continues. People online have started breaking things down almost like investigators. Timelines are being created, locations are being discussed, and every small detail is being revisited. There's something we're missing, one person commented. It's right there. But we don't see it yet. That feeling that something is just out of reach is what keeps the conversation alive. At the same time, emotions are running even higher than before. This isn't just about theories anymore. It's about loss. It's about someone who meant something to a lot of people. Fans are sharing personal stories about how MO3's music impacted them, how his words helped them through difficult times, and how this situation still doesn't feel real. That emotional connection is what makes every unanswered question hit even harder. Some people think the focus on the last call is really about trying to find control in a situation that feels uncontrollable. When something happens suddenly, without clear explanation, the human instinct is to search for meaning, to look for a moment where things could have changed. And for many, that moment is the call. Others push back against that idea, saying that not every tragedy has a hidden turning point. They believe focusing too much on one detail can take away from the bigger picture. But even they admit that the timing is hard to ignore. It's one of those things that sticks in your mind, whether you want it to or not. Meanwhile, content creators and commentators continue to share their perspectives. Some take a more emotional approach, focusing on the impact of the loss. Others lean into the mystery, carefully discussing possibilities while reminding viewers that nothing is confirmed. That balance between storytelling and responsibility has become a key part of how this situation is being discussed. And then there's the silence. Not much has been officially said about that call. No clear breakdown, no confirmed explanation, just bits and pieces that leave more questions than answers. That silence has created space for speculation to grow, but it's also a reminder that not everything is meant to be public. Some details may remain private, known only to those directly involved. Still, for fans, the curiosity doesn't go away, because when you look at everything, the timing, the lack of clarity, the emotional weight, it all circles back to that same question. What really happened in those final moments before everything changed? Some believe the truth will eventually come out, others think we may never fully know, but either way, the conversation continues and the mystery remains. Not because people want drama, but because they're trying to make sense of something that still doesn't feel complete. As more time passed, such the energy around the story didn't disappear. It settled into something quieter, but even more intense. The conversation around MO3 shifted from loud reactions to deeper reflection, but that one detail still refused to fade into the background. The last phone call remained at the center, almost like a moment frozen in time that people kept revisiting, hoping that somehow something new would stand out. But no matter how many times it was discussed, replayed, or reimagined, the same truth remained. Nothing is confirmed. Fans are still shocked, but now there's also a sense of acceptance mixed with the confusion. Not acceptance of what happened, but acceptance that some answers may never come. And that realization has created a different kind of conversation. Instead of just asking what was said during that call, people have started asking whether it even matters anymore. Did that moment truly change anything, or has it only become significant because of what followed? Some people think that the call could have been a turning point, even in a small way. Maybe it delayed him, maybe it changed his route, or maybe it had no effect at all. These possibilities continue to circulate online, with social media still going crazy whenever the topic resurfaces. Every few weeks, it seems like a new wave of discussion brings the story back to life, with fresh opinions, new theories, and the same unanswered questions. Others, however, are beginning to push the conversation in a different direction. They argue that focusing too much on speculation can sometimes take away from remembering who MO3 really was. Instead of getting caught in theories, or they believe the focus should be on his music, his story, and the impact he left behind. It's a perspective that has gained more attention over time, especially as emotions have shifted from shock to reflection. Still, the mystery hasn't gone anywhere. Unconfirmed reports suggest that there may never be a full public explanation of that final call, and if that's true, then the story will always feel incomplete in some way. That lack of closure is what keeps people coming back, even long after the headlines have faded, because when something ends without clear answers, it doesn't feel finished. It feels paused, like there's still something left to understand. People are divided, and that divide hasn't changed. Some believe the truth is simple, even if it's painful. Others believe there's more beneath the surface, on something that hasn't been revealed yet. Both sides have their reasons, and without confirmed information, neither can be fully proven right or wrong. That uncertainty is what gives the story its lasting power. There's also been a noticeable shift in how the hip-hop community talks about situations like this. More artists and fans are speaking about awareness, about moving carefully, and about understanding how quickly things can change. While the details of that last call remain unclear, the impact of what happened has sparked conversations that go far beyond a single moment. At the same time, the emotional weight hasn't faded. Fans still revisit old songs, old videos, and old moments, trying to hold on to what MO3 represented. And every time the topic of that final call comes up, it brings everything back: the shock, the questions, on the feeling that something doesn't fully add up. Even for those who try not to focus on it, it's hard to ignore. What if we knew what was said is a question that continues to come up, but maybe the harder question is this: would it actually change anything? That's something people are starting to think about more deeply, because even if every detail of that call was revealed, it might not bring the kind of closure people are hoping for. Sometimes knowing more doesn't make things easier. Sometimes it just changes the way the story is understood. And that's where things stand now. A moment that still feels unresolved, a conversation that continues to echo without a clear answer, and a story that, despite time passing, still feels close, still feels present, still feels unfinished. The last call MO3 made has become more than just a detail. It's become a symbol of everything people are still trying to figure out. Not just about that day, but about how quickly life can shift, how fragile moments can be, and how some questions don't come with easy answers. And maybe that's why this story stays with people, because it doesn't end cleanly, it lingers. At the end of the day, the story surrounding MO3 and that final phone call still leaves us with more questions than answers. We know the moment happened. We know it came right before everything changed. But what was really said during that conversation? Was it just a normal call like any other day? Or was there something deeper that people are still trying to understand? Fans are still talking, still debating, are, and social media continues to bring this moment back into the spotlight. Some people believe that call meant more than we realize. Others think it's simply a tragic coincidence that's being overanalyzed. The truth is, nothing is confirmed, and that uncertainty is what keeps this story alive even today. What makes this hit even harder is the emotional connection. This isn't just about theories, it's about a real person, a real loss, and a moment that changed everything in an instant. And when something like that happens, people naturally search for meaning, even if the full picture is never revealed. So now I want to hear from you. What do you think really happened? Do you believe that last call holds a deeper meaning? Or do you think people are reading too much into it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Oh, and if you made it this far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. Because out here, the truth isn't always clear, and sometimes the biggest stories are the ones that leave us still wondering.